Hi everyone, it's Dave at The Imperfect Individual. Hope you're alright in these exceptionally challenging and distressing times. Hope you're staying strong and resolute, rolling with the punches. It's what we're having to do every single day. So, just want to recount a conversation I had with a friend last week. We went for a big long walk and then a couple of pints, and we talked about what does us winning actually entail. What does it mean? What would it look like? And what would be the dangers associated with that? We often hear people saying, we'll win this. I say it. You can't not believe you're going to win a battle or a war. There's no point, because you may as well give up right now. So no matter how hopeless the situation appears, and ours is not hopeless, by the way, but no matter how hopeless the situation is, if you admit to yourself and to others that victory is not a possibility, then that right there is admitting defeat, and you may as well give up and go home. But what does it look like? What are the scenarios that could play out? I think what's interesting is about totalitarian regimes and revolutions. Start with totalitarian regimes. Everyone in history, as far as I can see, they're not brought down all of a sudden. The process of bringing them down involves a very many people over a long period of time applying relentless and incessant pressure and non-compliance, engaging in civil disobedience, using many different tacts, taking many different risks, and the risks that have been taken in every other totalitarian regime, or most others, have been greater than the ones that many of us have had to take. But it takes a lot of people over a long period of time, using many different approaches, and incessantly refusing to cooperate and raising awareness. Whereas a revolution, again, can appear, well, it can appear to be something that's sudden, but it's not. A revolution is more like a process that culminates in an event. So it's a process, not an event. So, do we want a revolution? Well, not all revolutions are violent. Most are, or most involve a level of violence. Some of them involve horrific levels of violence, and as we've seen, some revolutions result in a situation for the populace that's far worse than what preceded it. So the first question is, us winning, will that involve a revolution? Well, when I think of revolution, I do think of a figurehead for a revolution, and I don't see a figurehead has emerged. I've talked about this a lot, which isn't to say that a revolution can't occur, but again, as far as I can see, most revolutions are led by a central character who the revolutionary movement coalesces around. I don't want a revolution because it has that inherent risk of mass instability, anarchy, and, as I say, an outcome whereby the process, which started 2 years ago and is gathering pace, the rebellion started at the start 2 years ago and has gathered pace and has rapidly accelerated in the last few weeks. Well, a revolution may be an event where something happens that culminates, where that process culminates in an event that triggers a revolution. I don't think that's going to happen, but you can't rule it out. So that's one way that victory may look. Victory may leave a very sour taste and leave us with a situation worse than what we've got now. What else? So then we talked about what would happen, which is happening, as more and more people every day the scales fall from their eyes and they see the lies that they've been subjected to. Now, a healthy cynicism, mistrust of and skepticism of government is absolutely crucial in a society, but that level of trust also needs to be there, because if you have a world in which the structures, the overarching structures that play some part in holding that society together, which they do, such as government and media, etc., education system, as much as I've criticised all of these establishments as well, but if you have a situation where too many people arrive at a conclusion where they have zero trust, and I mean zero trust, and not just zero trust, but a visceral rage directed at those establishments and the people within them, well, what does that do to a society? And I think that's where we're heading. I have zero trust. I think our government, not just the government, every political party and most politicians literally do not know how to verbalise anything that even remotely approaches truth. I think they deal in lies, and they can't deal in anything other than lies. We are living in a world of lies. There is a web of lies that has been spun, and they're not just lies, they're monstrous. And as I say, this process that is occurring now, where people realise the lies they're being subjected to, and then connect the other dots, how everything adds up, who's pulling the strings, and what the aims are, the very, very nefarious, malevolent aims, as you will know, and the risk that they've put themselves in, and how politicians, media, scientific establishment, medical profession have collaborated on a huge scale to ensure that that lie brings about the outcomes that certain individuals and organisations, seen or unseen, want to bring about. So what does that do? What is the outcome? Where do we arrive at when a society decides en masse that it can trust nobody in authority? Well, possibly something approaching anarchy. And I've always thought a bad rule is better than no rules. Totalitarianism is not better than nihilism, anarchy. But if I had to choose between one, I think I'd probably go for a society with rules, albeit terribly bad ones, rather than one with none. Can that happen? Yes, it can. So would that look like victory for us? I don't know. Because we'd all of a sudden be plunged into a situation where we could be in massive danger. And who then is going to have the idea for how to rebuild trust? How will that be done? How will society be able to mentally, physically, psychologically, emotionally be able to recover from that? There will, of course, be many who, the ones who've, we've talked about this before, who've already mentally prepared for these scenarios, who will be then the figureheads and the leaders within their communities. And if anybody's going to be able to bring about some structures, it will be those people, but I don't know how it would happen. And what's the third outcome? Well, there's another one where simply the narrative changes, where the hidden forces behind the scenes, we all know who they are, I think, and the hidden forces behind the hidden forces come to the conclusion that the attempted hijacking of Western values, civil liberties, freedoms, that the biggest attempt in history of fundamentally altering what it is to be human and what human communities are, the attempt at eliminating cash, the attempt at the biggest wealth transfer ever, the attempt to fundamentally bring about a situation whereby the Western population has zero freedoms. If they come to the conclusion that their idea is not able to be implemented, they, in order to protect themselves, will simply begin to change the narrative. I don't know whether they would do it slowly or quickly, move on to something else and let all of this just melt away. But then the question is, well, if scenario 3 plays out, yes, there could be a peaceful transition to something, but will lessons have been learned? And even more importantly, will the truth reach everybody who it needs to reach? I'm not going to say will the truth come out, because it's already there right in front of us all. It's just whether we choose to see it or not. But scenario 3 possibly would leave us vulnerable to attack in another 10, 20, 50 or 100 years. So it's fascinating and scary to consider what lies ahead. And we could be talking months rather than years. We could be talking weeks, but we're probably talking months. So trying to conceive of a scenario and a process whereby somehow society can come to terms with what's been done to it and its people, hold those who are responsible for engineering it and orchestrated it to account, and holding responsible all of those ordinary men and women who have enabled it through their cowardice, through following orders and ensuring that they serve justice as well, and then being able to take back those freedoms and build on them, whilst at the same time creating over the years a following an amazing society for the next generation. How do we do that? How can that be done? I find that question fascinating. But what I will say is this, is that the best way for that to happen will be a natural, organic process, something that we can't even conceive of now, something that isn't engineered by us, something that we play our part in simply by being authentic and being able to more freely and confidently express ourselves. I mean, I already do, but where more people can, and something natural and organic takes place that we wouldn't even be able to predict right now. So yes, what does victory look like? What does it entail? Are we facing the distinct possibility of, no matter what scenario plays out, there will be real dangers for all of us? So there we go, that's today's video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think, how a society, how our countries around the world will react when the penny finally drops and they realise the scale of the deceit, the scale of the evil, the scale of the lies. Will there be mass mental breakdowns, or will we somehow be able to put ourselves back together and bravely walk towards a better world? So let me know. If you don't mind, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.